Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to yet another segment of Legal Talk with Patricia Bryan. I hope you all have had a somewhat normal weekend, despite the heartbreaking news of another of our young people losing their life. My sincere condolences to the immediate family, loved ones, and friends of the young person. I'm a parent of 3 young adults and cannot imagine what the parents must be experiencing. So let's please keep them all in prayers and for strength. It is a pleasure to be here again, coming to you with another topic which I've wanted to bring for several weeks. The show has a new time as of today, October 2nd, so tune in every Monday instead of at 5 p.m., tune in at 3 p.m. Nothing else has changed, and it should be noted that the time has changed to meet the request of listeners and viewers to air live shows. The new time will allow for that occasional live show. As usual, I would like to ask you to find a nonprofit organization of your choice and volunteer or donate funds to help support the organization continuing to offer its services. Lawyers, their local Legal Befrienders Clinic, and Cayman Islands Legal Assistant Clinic, CLAC, need volunteers. Please find a few hours in your likely already overloaded schedules to donate to either free legal assistant clinics. This would be so appreciated. This month, the month of October, is, as many know, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It is also National Bullying Prevention Month, with the week of October 15th to the 21st being recognized as the official week of bullying prevention by many countries. Locally within the Cayman Islands, government's Family Resource Center, of course, also recognizes October as the month to recognize bullying. The department does this through its anti-bullying campaign, Stood Up. This year, Stood Up is in its 10th year. Throughout the month of October, there will be a series of activities to endorse its theme for this year, being Kindness Takes Courage. You'll see I'm wearing my Family Resource Center anti-bullying recognition t-shirt, hot pink, and the theme Kindness Takes Courage is on the back of the t-shirt. I do have a video on my channels to show the front and back of the t-shirt. Please contact the Family Resource Center on 949-6800 for full details on their activities, but some of those activities include Dress for a Cause Day, which is on October 6th. You should purchase a t-shirt to wear in support. And there will be a pink shirt photo event held at the Government Administration building steps. Members of the public are invited to attend this event, so please put that on your calendars. Parenting webinar, How to Bully Proof Your Child, is on October 18th. Anti-bullying peer leadership training, bullying kindness tree, and please do not forget to purchase one of their beautiful hot pink t-shirts. They come in adult sizes, I think up to 3X, and also children's sizes. Do realize that the recognition activities for this year do not offer any activities for workplace bullying. However, I am aware that this year there were incidents of bullying in our school systems in the first week of school. Even though we know the department encourages zero tolerance for bullying in all spaces and atmospheres, I can appreciate that due to the start of the school year's concerns, highlighting bullying in the school is a priority. I also was privileged to have a parent share a story with me of her son experiencing bullying within the first week, which did not make headlines, and I will touch on this more later in the show. The Business Professional Women's Club, BPWC, will also have their annual Silent Witness March honoring victims of domestic violence and bullying on Thursday, October 19th, starting at the Government Administration Building. Please wear purple, and you can contact the BPWC on 326-3468 or info@bpwcayman.com. Please, as usual, popular to do, support the Family Resource Center, the Business and Professional Women's Club, and any other organization or business recognizing bullying and domestic violence. And of course, Breast Cancer Awareness this month. A few weeks ago, I decided I wanted to bring the topic of workplace bullying to my show. And I repeatedly set the issue aside. Too emotional as I shared a story of my personal experience and heard the experiences of so many others here on island. In fact, when people heard I had started this show, they began sharing their stories, asking me to cover the concern, not knowing I had a story of my own. A story I chose not to cover at the time. So eventually I realized I have to address workplace bullying and harassment and discrimination. I can't get away from it, both in the public and the private sector. So by the end of this show, we will learn outside that outside of kindness, anything else in the workplace, in schools, education institutions, but also within our communities and other spaces, is bullying, is harassment, and is discrimination. It's as simple as that. Here in the Cayman Islands, we want to be inclusive, as the other countries who have formed a unison recognition for zero tolerance to bullying and harassment and discrimination. This includes workplace bullying and bullying in our school system. My aim for airing this topic is that there will be consideration for direct legislation to combat bullying. Workplace bullying, along with bullying in the school system, are two of the major forms of bullying. I commend the Ministry of Education for bringing the bullying policy to the front of the line very swiftly in alignment with the Education Amendment Act 2022. I have a copy of the policy and I can satisfactorily say I do believe it's comprehensive. I have a few thoughts on the policy. I won't get into those right now, but I still believe it's comprehensive, and let's just say that is a very good start towards making kicking students or calling students retarded should be considered enough to administratively issue a criminal citation. And yes, guys, I said that. The latter is a story you haven't heard publicly, where a student was called retarded, a word used twice to two students in the very same family, two brothers actually, by the same instructor years apart, attending the same school. The instructor then stated it was not used in the context the student took it in. Listeners, the word retarded is no longer politically correct to describe or disabled, underdeveloped, or improperly developed children or loved ones, let alone asking our children if they are retarded as a means of asserting attention and discipline in our schools. We must also make our students be aware that they too can be issued citations if they commit acts of bullying and violence within schools and against each other or against administrative staff or instructors. Bullying in schools is not just about academic staff and officials abusing students, but also students abusing one another and the staff abusing one another, and which is also often witnessed, unfortunately, by our students. Believe that. By now, I believe our officials are pretty clear about what we want as a society and as parents where school bullying is concerned. I certainly know the Minister of Education, Mistress of Education, and her chief officer is very concerned. Please reach out to the Education Department, your child's school, or the Ministry of Education to receive a copy and familiarize yourself for you and your child's rights of the anti-bullying policy in schools. I can also email anyone a copy if you can get in touch with me. Now I feel that it is time that the Cayman Islands are due standalone anti-bullying, anti-harassment, and anti-discrimination legislation. There is the Gender Equality Act 2011. We have a sexual harassment bill tabled for discussion, but nothing directly addressing bullying, harassment, and discrimination. The sexual harassment proposal encompasses all spaces and atmosphere that we also encounter and are subjected to bullying, harassment, and discrimination, especially in particularly the workplace, but too in academic facilities or living in residential areas, online within the jurisdiction of the Cayman Islands, and in the media. This should not be, guys. It just should not be. We must never be afraid or be left to feel anxious to go and remain in a place where we spend more time than we do in our homes. And that is our workplace, that is our schools. Our children, or faculty in some cases, must never feel they do not want to attend school due to what has been said or done to them. Our residents and listeners and viewers should not have to feel that their very intimate details of acts will be aired on media outside of committing crimes of sexual natures against children and adults, or, and I mind you say this, against animals. I wanted to take a few minutes to read an article here to give a bit of history of how bullying started, the anti-bullying recognition. A gentleman by the name of Dr. Gary Nami of the Workplace Bullying Institute in the United States started this week of an event called Freedom from Workplace Bullying Week. This is something we would like to see 365 years of the year of awareness and make that happen. Founder of the Canadian Institute of Workplace Bullying Resources joined Gary to my printer seemed to have cut off much of that information. Believe it or not, I know this topic does not want to be covered, listeners, but it will be covered nonetheless without that information. It will not disappoint me. Can you believe most of what I printed out did not come out? So we will move along without it. I will find that history for you all in a few minutes as I continue to read what else I have to share here today, because we are going to make sure we bring this issue to the forefront. There are various other acts which I have found have elements of bullying connotations to them, but none which directly and expressly are tailored against bullying, harassment, or discrimination. So I want to talk about this. I want to talk about when employers, upper level staff, managers, supervisors, other work colleagues think that it is okay to bully, to harass, to discriminate on the job, in the workplace. And I'm going to speak on bullying in the public sector as well as the private sector, because the private sector seems to have almost next to nothing regarding bullying in the workplace. What are examples of workplace bullying or harassment of discrimination? I will share from reputable government sources so as not to deliberately put my own words or definitions to acts of workplace bullying, harassment, and discrimination. UK.gov defines examples of workplace bullying or harassing behavior as including spreading malicious rumors, unfair treatment, picking on or regularly undermining someone, denying someone's training or promotion opportunities. Bullying, harassment, and discrimination can happen face-to-face, by letter, by email, by phone, online, social media. Of course, we know that's very common also. And you need to show that the purpose or effect of the conduct was that it violated your dignity or created, this is important, or created an environment that humiliates you, offends you, intimidates you, is hostile, and is degrading. Those are very important elements of harassment, bullying, and discrimination on the workplace or in anywhere. NHS.UK defines bullying and says bullying can involve arguments and rudeness, but it can also be more subtle. Other forms of bullying include excluding and ignoring people and their contribution, overloading people with work, spreading malicious rumors, unfair treatment, picking on or regularly undermining someone, denying someone's treatment or promotion opportunities, using social media to humiliate, threaten, or offend. Bullying can also happen in emails or phone calls. We've heard that above. And bullying can make working life a living, miserable, uncomfortable situation. You can lose all faith in yourself. The article goes on to say you can feel ill and depressed and find it hard to motivate yourself to work. This cannot be compared to saying someone didn't commit a criminal act. So that minimizes the very fact that you have been bullied. I want to be clear how bullying and harassment and discrimination on the job can affect someone, which goes long and far beyond someone committing a criminal act against you. These can be lifetime effects on your mental health, on your morale, on your self-esteem as you move about your professional and personal and social life. I want to make that very clear to everyone in the public and private sector. Your employees can lose all faith in themselves. They can feel ill and depressed and find it hard to motivate themselves to work if they are being subjected to these types of treatments on the job, in the schools, anywhere in a place or atmosphere. Bullying is not always a case of someone picking on the weak either. Sometimes a person's strengths in the workplace can make the bully feel threatened, and that triggers their behavior. I can absolutely attest to that. Unison.org.uk defines bullying as offensive, intimidating, malicious, or insulting behavior. Abuse of authority, which violates the dignity of an individual or a group of people. Creating a hostile work environment against an individual. The undermining, humiliation, or injury of an individual. Making offensive or intimidating comments. Withholding information so the job cannot be properly done. These are all complaints I hear regularly when people share stories. These are all personal experiences I have had recently. Unreasonable or impossible deadlines or workloads. There we have it. Overbearing supervision or unjust criticisms, blocking opportunities, or making threats about job security. So common. Harassment is defined as unwanted conduct that has the purpose or effect of violating the dignity of people in the workplace or of creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment. I will share more information from a few more articles I found in my research, but I'll go on. Like the elements under the consideration of sexual harassment, key considerations and elements of whether bullying and harassment has occurred is whether the person, this is important again, guys, whether the person who the actions or comments were directed at view them as demeaning or acceptable. So in other words, if something is said to you or done to you in a certain element and you deem it as demeaning or acceptable, it can be more than likely considered bullying, harassment, and discrimination. So if someone says to me, Patricia, you can go and tell your Caymanian people that we don't accept cash in this office, that is discrimination. That is discrimination against me as a Caymanian. That's discrimination against the Cayman Islands in a whole, and that is discrimination of me. Out of 7 Caymanians, I was selected to be told that statement. That is discrimination. That is harassment. That is bullying. And as a prime example, there you have it. For me, there is no question here when these types of behaviors are directed at someone in the workplace. It is simply not acceptable. I do not see any other way around it and cannot accept otherwise. And I'm sure listeners, you're feeling the same exact way. The public sector in the Cayman Islands has its own set of policies and procedures, which in and of themselves create a whole different element to workplace bullying, harassment, discrimination. For me, this almost borders to where the public sector has, I don't know, semi-protection for employees or civil servants. I do feel it could be revamped. We see certain departments in the public sector which have strong policies and procedures, yet in those departments, the level of bullying, harassment, and discrimination at the top level is so clear cut and happens on such a daily basis. I am simply dumbfounded. The bullying, harassment, and the discrimination in the workforce in the private and public sectors must stop in the Cayman Islands, and it starts from the top level. In these situations, employees are often offered transfers. They become fed up and resign or remain in positions and just simply suck it up and suffer. Those who orchestrate and form the attacks on the victims remain in their positions, especially those in senior upper level posts. Many of these situations carried on for years and years and years. I just want to mention a gray area I've recently discovered is where there basically is almost no jurisdiction for persons who are hired by temp recruitment companies and placed in a public service position. When they're faced with bullying issues, harassment issues, discrimination issues, who has the jurisdiction to deal with a lot of this? Because technically, you're hired by a private company, but you're still doing job in the public sector. So you're not really a civil servant, but you're neither covered under the private labor law for the most part, although you're working for the public sector, the civil servants. A gray area there, legislatures, and I think parliamentarians, I think we need to have a good look at this. I call on our legislators or parliamentarians, I challenge our members of parliament to ask your offices this month, today, who has experienced bullying, harassment, discrimination within your office. Be honest with yourselves from the top to the lower rungs of the ladder. Private sectors, I challenge you to do the same. Legislators, sit down amongst cabinet and have the serious discussion this month, today, tomorrow, Wednesday, whenever cabinet meets, of how important it is for you to enact direct and serious legislation to foster anti-bullying, anti-harassment, and anti-discrimination in the workplace. The very fact that we have these social bodies, these organizations, coming in and recognizing these issues like the rest of the world makes it clear we want help to mandate legislation. Mandate employers to have policies in place as soon as possible. As the saying goes, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. So no double standards for public, yet others for private sectors. We must all endeavor to make the workplace a place where staff feel safe and comfortable coming to work. And if this isn't happening, then the law or legislatures must enact legislation which makes the lack of a safe and comfortable environment a criminal offense, because it won't change otherwise. It just simply will not change. I am not speaking only about gender equality or sexual harassment. I am talking about general, overall, feeling safe and protected on one's job, in school, in college, in university. For the month of October, Human Resources Departments explore ways of making sure staff are assessed and evaluated for these issues on the job. Endeavor to make your place of business one where your employees will feel comfortable approaching to say, I am dealing with bullying, I am being harassed, I have been experiencing discrimination, and it will not fall on deaf ears. Employers, both in the public and private service, must take note that they can be liable for not providing a safe and comfortable work environment. The same way that we're about to make them liable for matters of sexual harassment in the workplace. In researching governing legislation for today's show, the Cayman Islands Constitution was one of the very first papers which came to my mind. And The 2009 Constitution is a standalone single written document which sets out the most important rules for governing the islands or country, even though some people think the Cayman Islands isn't a country on its own. The Constitution is a document which supersedes, is above all other documents and legislation in our islands. Have a look at the Constitution, guys, and see when we have bullying, harassment, and discrimination, these issues comes down to our basic human rights being violated. As a British overseas dependent territory of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, we are able to recognize the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which the UK signed and ratified. And if you look at our Constitution, it's somewhat similarly replicated of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We cannot be a double standard nation which does not measure up to human rights standard in many areas. We must bring our social and human rights standards up to par. It cannot be here in the public sector, there in the private sector, here in the Constitution, but not in the legislation, and not overall being identified that this is what's in the Constitution and this is what must match with the legislation, and this is what employers in the public and private sector must put in force, must put policies in place so everything can be in alignment with each other and our rights are being guaranteed and recognized. Section 90 of the Information and Communications ICT Act 2019 revision, the Penal Code 2022 revision, and other acts have sections which cover certain actions which can be identified as bullying, harassment, and discrimination. If our law enforcement are mindful to recognize, and if we come forward to report these matters. If you or someone you know has or has experienced any type of bullying, harassment, or discrimination in school or in the workplace, speak to someone of trust and make a complaint either to an education administrator or staff or another adult. In the workplace, keep detailed records, dates, times, quote the words that were said, the place where it happened, if there were any witnesses. The same as if you had a car accident and you want to be covered to make sure you get paid if you weren't at fault and your car gets fixed. Keep detailed records. Have a discussion with the person perpetrating the abuse, if possible, in a very calm, mature, and responsible way. Although we know some upper level staff don't want to have those discussions and they don't have good managerial skills at all. File a non-formal complaint to have a record on your place of employment. File a formal complaint within your Human Resources office if the non-formal complaint fails. Public servants can also speak with the Ombudsman office. If everything else fails, private employees, there's Department of Labor and Pensions, which also has a tribunal. Now, I can easily say our labor laws still need a bit of revamping, but I won't get into that, too technical. And if all else fails, this is the fun part. No other recourse, consult an attorney or visit the free legal clinics, which is the Legal Befrienders Clinic and the Cayman Islands Legal Assistance Clinic, CELA. They have appointments with CELAC. The Legal Befrienders Clinic is a walk-in. You can contact either of those organizations to get free legal advice on just about any legal issue. Run, call, get on the social media, email, whatever you have to do if you experience workplace bullying. We know in the schools a lot of times the students have their parents that can advocate for them. On the workplace, you only have yourself. That is all. I just want to go back and touch on the articles that I had of how bullying started. And, the world is recognizing this month as Anti-Bullying Month. And someone started someone started this cause. Someone started this cause, and we want to give you, the public, a bit of background. It would be remiss of me not to give that background, to tell you how this cause started. You know, uh, the the color for recognizing bullying is uh, pink or orange. The color for recognizing domestic violence is purple. And we in the Cayman Islands want to join with the rest of the world, the other countries that are celebrating this month for anti-bullying. Listeners, I am so disappointed that this did not print out, because this was super good information. It looked like it was printing out on the printer, but that, nonetheless, as I said, will not cause me to not provide this information. I have my laptop right here. Oh, look at that. Dr. Gary Nami is a psychologist, social psychologist, and we are going to tell you how his cause started with the Workplace Bullying Institute. Okay, here we go. Actually, it's him and his wife, and workplace bullying. And it tells us here that Dr. Gary Nami is a psychologist in the Cayman Islands. I want to pull up the actual Workplace Bullying Institute. I want to pull up the actual site here, because I think this is very important about us. Here we go. For listeners to learn. You know, I knew this was going to happen, because this is such an important topic. I wish I could just tell everyone how many people have approached me on this matter. It is heartbreaking, to be honest. People feel helpless. People feel as though they can't say anything because they don't want to lose their jobs, especially in this time, this climate of this climate of how, you know, everything is so expensive. So the creators of this cause, the founders, Doctors Ruth and Gary Nami, stopped counting the number of hour-long tales they heard by phone at 12,000 people. And they decided to create this institute. And it says workplace bullying started in the United States. Freedom for Workplace Bullying Week. I am going back here. Guys, bear with me. Because here we go. We see that Dr. Nami, here we go. There's the article. I love it. So October the 15th to the 21st is actually the Freedom from Bullies Week, and is a chance to break through the shame and silence surrounding bullying. It is a week to be daring and bold, just like these hot pink t-shirts that the Family Resource Center has. And I still am not able to find that article. This is such a disappointment. This is I'm looking at the wrong article. article here. Canada is also on board with this recognition. Canada, many other countries. Workplace bullying. Here we go. You know, when we want to do something that's so well needed for our society, there's always something that pops up that tries to prevent that information from being shared. And about our founder. Okay, here we go. This might be it. Okay, Dr. Linda Crockett. This is really disappointing how it started. We may have another episode of this coming up where we talk about these issues, and may have a speaker on. I'm working on having a speaker come on and discuss this matter, but guys, I just simply cannot find this article. It does not have a URL, but Workplace Bullying Institute, Linda Crockett, that is Linda here. Linda has been specializing in workplace harassing and anti-bullying for 13 years. I have another article where it talks about bullying, and it says in 2013 the US-based Workplace Bullying Institute published a list of the top 25 workplace bullying tactics. That list included falsely accusing someone of errors not actually made, stared, glared, was non-verbally intimidating, and was clearly showing hostility, discounted the person's thoughts or feelings. Oh, that's silly in meetings. Oh my God, let me tell you, that is staring me in the face. Use the silent treatment to ice out and separate from others. Ladies and gentlemen listening to this show, including myself, I have a list of people who has gone through these tactics, made up own rules on the fly that even he or she did not follow. These are rules of bullying related to senior managers of companies. Disregarded satisfactory or exemplary qualified of completed work despite evidence. Stole credit for work done by others. Retaliated against the person after a complaint was filed. This is something we need to be very mindful of, because this is why people do not report workplace bullying or discrimination or harassment. Bullying behavior can often be difficult to prove, and other behaviors allow bullying to go undetected. I saw another article where it says that especially those in upper level management, they display tendencies of bipolarism or dual personalities or other mental health issues. What do they call them? The word slips me now. Anyway, I'm going on to read the article. And it says long-term psychological intimidation and incidents may seem unimportant in isolation, but there is a clear cumulative effect which builds into a much more serious situation. The Psychology of the Workplace Bullying newspaper article defined bullying as the bully as people who intimidate or control others to achieve their aims. They may collaborate when their goals are being met, but they lack fairness and honesty. Workplace bullies generally manipulate or terrorize those with status below or equivalent to themselves. They may also intimidate superiors, such as threaten to resign at a critical point. So we see that the roles kind of flip there, where there is while it is easy to recognize unsophisticated playground bully, workplace bullies utilize more refined tactics. We hear that? They use more refined tactics. The report referenced a large survey on bullying at work at the University of Manchester, which showed that at that time, 1 in 10 workers have been bullied in the last 1 in 10 workers have been bullied, 1 in 4 workers have been bullied in the last 5 years, 47% of workers have witnessed bullying at work, and a quarter of employees think their company turns a blind eye to workplace bullying and harassment. This is something that's very common that I have heard so many people share with me that their companies turn a blind eye because nobody wants to be accountable. No employer wants to be able to be liable for certain behaviors happening in their place of business. And our legislatures have got to make this a reality, that they recognize that this has to be done. We cannot fail our people, we cannot fail our children, and the only way to do that is legislation. We need to highlight our Constitution. The Constitution is real. It is the precedent-setting document. It is the document that mandates everything else in a country of how the country should function. There are areas that exempt the civil service and public service from the regular employees in the private sector, but we need to set a standard that it's really no different when it comes to our workers, because private or public, we're all coming to our place of employment to do a job. We come there 5 days a week, sometimes more than that, for long hours. It's where we have to be our best. We have to put on our best faces, our best personalities. We have to put our best foot forward. We have to be productive. And how can we do this if we come on our job and we have to face this harassment, we have to face this bullying, this discrimination, and without trying to get into this debate, you know who really are subjected to this the most? The people of this country, the native people of this country, Caymanians. Not only Caymanians, but I'm telling you, our Caymanian people, legislators, listen to me. Our Caymanian people is facing this, and you guys need to be real with yourself. Talk to your staff, talk to your constituents. People are feeling that they're not productive on top of everything else that we're going through in this country. People are lacking. Their mental health is getting affected. It's already hard with cost of living. It's already hard with the issues of immigration. It's already hard with everything else that's going on in this country. And if I was to release the list of people, the number of people that talk to me about these issues, if I was to talk about my experience, I implore the government, take our Constitution, take the areas of the law and put it into a paper, the way we're doing the sexual harassment bill, and make bullying, discrimination, harassment a direct violation and criminal offense in and of its own. Let it be a standalone document. I still want to get back and tell you all how this recognition month started. Please do not forget to get your t-shirts from the Family Resource Center. There are adults and children's sizes. The Family Resource Center is putting on a variety of events for this month. So as the Women Resource Center, I do believe there's other organizations and businesses that will be along the month focusing on anti-bullying. I certainly believe when this recording goes around that there will be much more recognition. I hope so. I hope parliamentarians, MPs, that you will consider doing something within your districts, because it will be good PR for you when you start next campaigning next year, that you are recognizing the social issues of your people. Because you know, if you don't want to admit, you know that your people who elected you are going through workplace bullying, harassment, and discrimination as Caymanians on the job. It's not only us, but we are the primary ones that are going through it. Our parents are going through situations with their children in schools. I'm telling you, one parent, I know her personally. She had a son in school years ago who's now a young adult. And she just had her other young son is in school. I can't remember what year, but he, from the same instructor, experienced the same exact word this instructor used many years ago to his brother, using the word retarded. No one calls anyone retarded anymore, not anyone that is respectably addressing someone with a disability or a handicap. It's unacceptable. Zero tolerance for it in the schools. And not just our lower level from reception to high school. You know, we're talking about in the universities, in the community colleges, trade schools, training schools, jobs, public service, private service. Across the board, government, it is time for you to take this matter serious. People are angry on their jobs. But what can they do? They need their jobs. I implore you, as someone who went through it personally, I implore our parliamentarians to please sit down and have this discussion. Remember our Constitution. Remember who drafted the Constitution. Remember what your Constitution says as you sit up there and represent your people and said you have our best interest in mind. Our children who are the leaders of tomorrow, who are going to come up and continue to maintain this country long after you who are there now leaves, long after businesses go under, long after the seat changes, the leaders change from the seats. Please, I implore you. I still am looking for this information to tell you the start of workplace, how Mr. Nami started the workplace bullying institute, because it's a very interesting story. It's a very interesting story here with Dr. Nami and his wife, and then here we go about us. Let me see if I can just find this one article, because this was so, I can't believe I didn't get this out. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, but okay, here we go. They're still bringing up the same article. Oh, this is an interesting statement. Work shouldn't hurt. Very to the point. Work shouldn't hurt on the Workplace Bullying Institute of Dr. Nami and his wife, Ruth and Gary. And help for bullied people. Let me see. Freedom Week. Here we go. This may be just what I'm looking for. There we go. It says, bullying cannot exist without employer approval. Employers have the power to stop it. This is a really good site. It says the Workplace Bullying Organization was the first, began in 1997, and is still the only U.S. organization that aids bullied individuals, educates the public and professionals, and it talks about advocates for legislation. There we go, guys. Their legislation is Healthy Workplace Bill. Government, perfect name for ours if we can adopt that name, the Healthy Workplace Bill. I am very free and available to consult with you guys to bring this into a reality. It's a needed bill, just like we needed the sexual harassment bill a long time ago. I'm glad this government has stood up and started to implement this. I think in terms of social issues, I don't want to give too much credit or sound too negative, but I want to give a bit of credit. I think, this government is for social issues. I think this government is recognizing a lot, because we can't have our constitution and said we have the freedom to do this and we have the freedom to do that. We have the rights to this and rights to that, but yet there's no actual acts in place to align with our constitution. It just makes no sense to me, and we have 3 lawyers. Let me see, 4 lawyers actually. We have 4 lawyers as members of our parliament, and I think we have the Human Rights Commission there. And I know that they are very strong about advocating for rights. So we need to get them consulting also. We have the drafters, we have the prosecutors, and in terms of some of these elements of workplace bullying are criminal and can be found in other areas of the law. And us as private citizens, oh, maybe I shouldn't say too much because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not giving legal advice, but us as private citizens, we can apply to bring our own private prosecution of instances where we feel our rights have been breached, things have been said to us that constitute elements of criminal acts. We can do that. I would say the first place to start is the Public Prosecutor's Office for information on that, or again, CLAT or the Legal Befrienders Club to get that free legal advice on how to do that. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to sound like I'm giving free legal advice, but again, get your constitution, get the Gender Equality Act, get the Penal Code, get the ITC Act, look into those documents and see what areas of those acts relate to issues that you may be going through. Get in touch with your legislators and let them know what you're going through, so it can encourage them to look at these issues and see how socially unacceptable it is, how their people are hurting, how work shouldn't hurt, where we go every day to spend most of our time, where we have to slave in order to make our salaries and our income to take care of our families and to provide for ourselves in this life. I mean, even our parliamentarians, I understand, goes through bullying on their even them go through bullying, I understand, on the job. So this should be a really cut and dry matter for them to look into. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in. I am sorry that I did not have the information that I really also wanted to share with you from these articles, because it was so good. There are a lot of different countries that are coming together every year, recognized in October as the Workplace Bullying Awareness Week. And again, that Pacific Week internationally is celebrated October 15th to the 21st. So jump on board, get your t-shirts, make your own t-shirts, recognize it on all of your social media pages along with breast cancer awareness, and do not forget the domestic violence awareness also. We have so many things going on in this month. Forget about Halloween. October is social issues, anti-bullying, domestic violence, uh, breast cancer awareness. Those are the focuses for this month. We want you to speak to your parliamentarians. If you don't want to speak to your parliamentarians, get in touch with me and I can get in touch with them for you. Thank you guys for listening to this show. I am sorry it went at a slow pace here and there. And of course, with technology, we know it does not always function the way that we want it to function. Get your copy of the anti-bullying policies for schools. You can easily call up to the Glass House. Someone will bring you down a copy or email you a copy. I can email you a copy. My email address is legaltalkwithpatricia@outlook.com. You can catch me on social media under my name or under the show's name, Legal Talk with Patricia Bryan. I can send you a copy of the anti-bullying policy for our schools. Get yourself a copy of the Constitution. You can Google it online and print a copy off, or just read it online, and the other acts that I mentioned. But we want to encourage our legislators to start drafting an anti-bullying, anti-discrimination, anti-harassment, stand-alone legislation. Thank you all for listening. Tune in again this time next week for another episode of Legal Talk with Patricia Bryan. It has moved to a new time, 3 to 4 p.m., simply to allow for the possibility of going live if and when that is a decision that I take. And because listeners and viewers have asked for that, I am not sure when that will be, but we're setting the stage for it. Again, tune in every Monday, 3 to 4 p.m. on Bobo 89 FM radio or DMS broadcasting.ky and hit the Bobo icon to listen online. I will do a video on showing you how to actually, once you get onto DMS broadcasting.ky, actually going up to the top right hand corner where the three, I forgot what they're called, 3 little dots are, clicking on that, and there's a way you can hit save to your main screen, or it becomes an app once you hit that, and it's saved directly onto your phone, so you can just click on that little app and listen live on any show that happens on Bobo, especially mine's at 3 to 4 p.m., but also the other shows that air on Bobo 89.1 FM can be heard through that icon, through that app at their respective times. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and please stay safe, and tune in again this time next week, Monday. Thanks. Have a good evening.